welcome to another Art Beads Handy Tip video. I'm Amy and this is Katie, and today I'll be showing you and Katie how to make a wrap loop. Wrap loops are a staple in wireworking. They're useful for finishing earrings, for hanging dangles and pendants, or for creating links for your jewelry pieces. A couple of advantages to using the wrap loop are they're more secure than a simple loop and they have a more finished look. When making a wrap loop, you can use head pins, eye pins, or wire. I've went ahead and gathered up an assortment of pins and wire just to show you that there's a lot of variety when choosing them. They all come in different lengths, gauges, and finishes, so you'll just want to choose the ones that are appropriate for the beads that you'll be working with. The next thing you'll want to do is to get your tools together. We're going to be using 2 pairs of chain nose pliers, a pair of round nose pliers, and a pair of side cutters. To begin your wrap loop, you'll first want to string your bead. And I'm going to be using a 2.5 inch head pin. And then with a pair of chain nose pliers, you'll want to create a 90-degree bend about 1/8 of an inch above your bead.
Does it need to be exactly 1/8 of an inch?
No, you just want to leave enough room for your wraps. If you're using thicker wire, you might need a little bit more room. Thinner wire, you might need a little less.
Okay.
And then with a pair of round nose pliers, you'll want to grip your wire right at that bend. And you'll want the barrels of your round nose pliers facing vertically so that one barrel is above your wire, one barrel is below your wire. And then you'll just want to push that wire up and over the top barrel of your pliers. You'll want to reposition your pliers, just rotate them back so that they're now sitting horizontally.
So I'm putting them away from me?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you'll just want to continue pushing that wire back. You could do that with your fingers or a pair of chain nose pliers.
Which one's easiest for you?
Well, I thought that using my fingers was easier for me, but I found that I have better control over the wire with the chain nose pliers, so I suggest trying it both ways.
Okay.
Then with a pair of chain nose pliers, you'll want to grip the tail end of your wire and start making your wraps. And I like to use 3 wraps, but you can use however many you like.
Now, sometimes when I'm doing this, the wire ends up uneven. Is there some way to prevent that?
The easiest way to avoid that is just to pay careful attention to how your wire's laying, because you still have a lot of room to move your wire up and down at this point. But if you've already finished your loop and you find that it's crooked, you can go back with a pair of chain nose pliers or a pair of nylon jaw pliers and try to smooth it out. You just have to be careful not to squash your wraps.
Okay.
Once you've finished your wraps, you'll want to trim your wire as close to your wraps as you can. And we suggest wearing protective eyewear and pointing the wire away from you. And then with a pair of chain nose pliers, you'll just want to tuck in the tail end of your wire so it doesn't snag on anything. And this is a nice example of a wrap loop pendant that can be strung directly onto a necklace or that can be strung using jump rings. When using a wrap loop to create dangles or links, you'll want to attach them directly to your chain before making your wraps. To do this, you'll want to start out just as you did before by stringing your bead onto your head pin. With a pair of chain nose pliers, make your 90-degree bend about 1/8 of an inch above your bead. And then with your round nose pliers, you'll want to grip your wire just at that bend, and you'll want the barrel of your pliers sitting vertically. And then just push that wire up and over the top barrel of your pliers. Loosen your grip and rotate your pliers back so they're sitting horizontally. And then continue to push that wire straight back till it's also sitting horizontally. Then with a pair of chain nose pliers, you'll want to open your loop up just a little. You'll want to open it enough so that it can slip right over one of the links on your chain. We're using these handy chain stays to keep our chain in place while we're hanging dangles on them. And you'll want to string your wire onto one of the links on your chain. And with a pair of chain nose pliers, you'll want to close that loop down. You'll want to hold your loop with a pair of chain nose pliers, and then with a second pair of chain nose pliers, you're going to start making your wraps.
So what happens if I have extra wire showing?
You can always wrap the wire around more than 3 times. After you've had more practice, you'll get better at judging the amount of wire that you need.
Okay.
After you've finished your wraps, you want to trim your wire as close to your wraps as you can. And then just tuck in the tail end of that wire so that it's not going to snag on anything. And this is a nice example of a wrapped loop that could be used to hang dangles or pendants from chain. To create a link using double wrapped loops, you'll first want to cut a length of wire that's approximately 4 times the length of your bead. And I'll be using 20 gauge half hard sterling silver wire. You'll want to create a wrapped loop on one end like I did here. And then you'll want to string your bead onto your wire and continue by making a wrapped loop on the other side. Make your 90-degree bend. Fold your wire up and over the top barrel of your pliers. Rotate your pliers back and continue to make that bend. Now when making links, you're going to want to attach them to your other component before you make your wraps. So you'll want to open your loop with a pair of chain nose pliers. You'll want to slide your other component on and then close that loop with a pair of chain nose pliers. You want to hold on to your loop with your chain nose, and with the second pair of chain nose, just start making your wraps. And I'm going to do 3 wraps here. You'll just want to make sure that however many wraps you did on the other side, you want to do the same amount on the other end. And then trim your wire as close to your wraps as you can, and tuck the tail end in with a pair of chain nose pliers. And this is a nice example of a double wrapped loop link. Now you can create an entire chain using these links, which I've done here to create this beautiful bracelet. To attach a clasp, you can either wrap directly onto your toggle, or you can attach it using jump rings like I did here. Thank you for joining us in the Art Beads studio. That's all for this handy tip. We hope it was helpful. For more handy tips and ideas, please visit the Learning Center at artbeads.com.